Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Josiah Calebra. So we're here at day 8. By the time it actually goes up, this will be day 9. It'll be day 9. But we're here at day 8. I've literally been able to shoot consistently the entire week, and it feels great. Like, the drive is amazing. The content that I've been able to make is phenomenal, and the people that I've been able to meet through this entire process so far are fantastic. I love this. Like, it just, like, honestly, it's just bringing out the best in me, and I can't wait to kind of just figure out where I'm going to be at, like, literally in the next 2 weeks or so. I know I said I was going to do a little bit more like uploading like throughout the week, kind of like behind the scenes, but I'm actually kind of just like a one-man band at the moment, so getting a lot of those behind the scenes shots are I get a little bit more forgetful when I'm shooting, so I'll make it, I have to prioritize doing a little bit more behind the scenes and actually like make sure a lot of this stuff is taken care of. Okay, so today I'm going to show you guys how I do my post-process editing. I'm going to show you how I do dodge and burning. I'm going to show you how I do color grading, and I'm also going to show you how I do my retouching. So I'm going to try to go as slow as I can, just because I have a lot of actions already built in for this, and I'm not going to go through and re-demonstrate how I made all those actions. It's pretty long. So, but the thing is, I'll probably make downloads so that you guys can actually get my get the action for my color grading, get my action for dodge and burning, and then also get my action for my action for retouching. Boom, there we go. Okay, so yeah, shoot, let's get started. Here we go. Okay, so first thing I already did was I just kind of bumped up the shadows a little bit, just so you can kind of just get this like little bit of recovery on her face. And let me see, what else have I done? No, that was about it. I just brought up the shadows a little bit. It's not really a need for like any highlight recovery or anything like that. And I'm not really going to kind of mess with anything else like contrast, because I can change a lot of that in Photoshop. I feel like I have a little bit more control over there. Most of the time, usually, if I do anything in Capture One, I do a lot of light editing in Capture One. If I know I'm going to move it over to Photoshop, if I have no intention of moving over to Photoshop, then I'll do a lot more editing in Capture One. Like, I'll actually use like the Luma range, or adding more layers and creating contrast, and yeah, just doing like more heavy editing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move this over, and we're gonna bring this in Photoshop. So usually I move it over as a PSD, keep the resolution at 300, and it's Adobe RGB 1998. Oh, and then I also make sure that it's 16-bit when I'm editing, just so I have a little bit more range with my colors. All right. Let's see. We're gonna bring this over as a jump. Okay. All right, here we go. So, lovely image. Love these tones already in this. So we're just gonna touch it up just a little bit. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this layer. All right, so what I'm going to do in this layer is just usually just do like a lot of my just like basic touch-ups. So I'll probably take like the spot heal tool just to kind of like just get rid of these like little strays right up here. Then it's not really a big deal, but it's just for my own preference. And then the second thing we're going to do is we're going to just kind of clone stamp out this piece of the necklace and just replace it with a couple more pearls. The thing is, it doesn't have to be perfect, because this is probably the image that you guys are going to see. So I just wanted to have like a more continuous look, and that way we can kind of move forward. All right, so let's see. Let's start here and go up to the top. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so as I'm editing, I have definitely found that using a Wacom tablet is so much easier. Okay, I'm actually going to swap over to the clone stamp tool, but using the Wacom tablet is so much easier. So for my clone stamp, my tools, I have it on a really soft brush. If you can see up here, it's at 60. My opacity is at 100. My flow is at 68. I usually never have it at 100, just so I can build up. Like it's a little easier to build up on what's there versus just completely taking it out. It just makes, yeah, honestly, just makes it a lot easier. I don't know, you ever like tried to like clone stamp something and then you just have this like enormous blob? It's like, oh my gosh, this was just too much. Yeah, need to avoid that at all costs. All right, so let's see, we're just gonna get this, clean this up. And the crazy thing is, like, no one's actually really gonna look at this, like look that close. But like, I mean, except me and maybe like a few other people. But like the general public is not going to see this. But I would say just get in the habit of just make sure that this is kind of cleaned up as well. Let's see. So what we're gonna do is boom, take care of that. All right. So we don't have to really go too much into the ponytail, but oops, that was way too much. It was an accident. So yeah, that way you can kind of just just clean it up a little bit. We know her hair is gonna be out in this like little ponytail, so you don't have to take too much out of it. Just give it some character, give it some depth. But the ones I say we are going to kind of take away are like the ones that like are just standing out like exponentially, and we just don't want that. Is that even a word? I don't know. I sound like T.I. We're going to edit this hair expeditiously. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we're not even going to go down there. That's not gonna happen. All right, let's see. Let's get this like little hair off of her neck. It's all good. So we're gonna take the lazy route for this one. So this is just a spot healing tool. I also have this on. Let's see. Okay, so when I'm using spot healing, this is on sample all layers. When I'm using my clone stamp, it's on aligned, and then I'm sampling current layer just as a heads up. I know I already kind of finished with the clone stamp, but just a note. All right, bada bing, bada bang. All right, so for the clone stamp tool, so this is another reason why I would say like I build up instead of actually just doing it full on. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sample right here at this like little corner, and you can just, so that way we can kind of line it up. And we're just going to build it up like so. And look at that. We got a whole pearl. Yeah, there we go. Lovely. Oh, no. Too far on that one. Oh no. Okay, no, take that back. We're gonna have to just deal with that for right now. I should have lifted the pin up. All right, so let's see. We're gonna do the same thing on this side. All right, and then the parts that kind of got messed up, we're just gonna go in and make something up. All right, and then let's just make this little one right here. We're gonna put in this like little corner. Now the thing is, it doesn't have to be perfect because no one is really gonna look that deep into it. I can guarantee that. So then we're just gonna clean this up just a little bit. And then I'm gonna just get rid of this one all the way down here. All right, let's see. Let's clean this up just a little bit. All right. So that way when you zoom out, because that is, no one is going to strictly look at the pearl. And if you didn't know that that's what I was doing, then you wouldn't even look. So, boom, piece taken out. We are good to go. So the next thing we're gonna do is I go and do, so I will go into frequency separation at this point. So I have an action built for my frequency separation right here. I can put a link in the description below for this if you're interested in actually using this. So let's see what we're going to do. All right, so we're gonna just run this action. So you see it here, look like nothing happened, but when you go over to layers, boom, we have a new folder with 2 new layers. So basically we have a texture and skin layer. So what's happening here is in the skin layer, we're not, so okay, because I want the detail to still be in the image, the skin layer basically blends the colors and blends the transitions of colors together. That way you get this really, really smooth look on the skin, on the face, without compromising the texture of the skin, which is preserved in the texture layer. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn off the texture layer. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but a lot of the, here, maybe if I zoom in, you can see it a little bit better. Let me see. But if I turn off the texture layer, you see how it gets blurry like that? So that's basically like us taking away the texture. So, all right, so next thing we're gonna do is, so when I'm on the skin layer, we're gonna use the healing brush. So this is, I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but I'm using a Wacom tablet to edit this. You can do this with a mouse. Doing it on a mouse wouldn't be too bad, but using a trackpad is hell. So I would definitely recommend a tab, like, you know, like it's like an editing tablet, just because it'll make your life so much easier and it'll make this process a lot faster. So what you're going to do is, so make a decent sized brush. This doesn't have to be, you know, too small, too big, or anything like that. What we're going to do is we're only going to basically make dabs. We're not going to drag the mouse across the screen. We're going to make dabs. And the good thing is this process will honestly take away a lot of blemishes anyway. So you won't really need to go back in and edit a lot in the texture layer. You know, you'll see what I mean. Because basically what this is going to do, so all the harsh transitions from between 2 colors, this is going to blend them together. So it's a nice seamless flow. That's another reason why you don't want to just drag the mouse all over the place. Okay, so this is a good size. Make sure you have your healing brush. The settings I have on this, I have a very soft brush. Let's see, the hardness is 25%, spacing 25%, mode is on normal, source sampled. I have aligned and use legacy checked, and this is only sampling the current layer. That's very important. So, and then you also have like pen settings. So depending on how hard I press, the bigger the spaces that's going to be selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit option, sample. So say like right here, so you're going to kind of like just tap and you're going to clean up the transitions of colors. So you're just going to tap, 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 tap. I'm going to tap away, tap away. So I don't know if you guys are, if you can notice, if you're noticing that, but see, like even some of the blemishes that are on her face are actually going away, but as I'm actually tapping. So, you know, you don't have to, you're going to have to learn the pressure to apply when you're doing this. So, but it's also a very tedious kind of process. I don't know if I'm going to fast forward it as I'm editing this, but I think it'll probably be a good idea. That way you're not sitting here just watching me just tap, tap, tap in silence. Because, I mean, I don't know what to say to kind of like entertain you guys. Like, am I supposed to make a song about tapping? So yeah, all right, let's do that. We're gonna fast forward this. Yeah, we're gonna fast forward this so I can this tapping piece. All right, and we're back. So let's see. So this is the after, this is before. Very subtle, but I just wanted to make and that's exactly how I want it. I want it to be very subtle. I want it to feel very natural. I still want texture, you know, as you still have the texture in her skin. You know, that's all I really wanted, was just to make sure that everything still flows together and it just looks very natural. So let me see. And I mean, honestly, if I wanted to go in the texture layer, I mean, I could, but personally, I don't feel like I need to. But I'll just show you like what it kind of does. Yeah, I'll just show you what it does. That way it's not. So say like right there, you can still make edits and, you know, and still preserve a lot of the detail. But my big thing is, like, I don't want to overkill it and do too much editing towards the texture. I really like the way this looks now. So I really don't believe I actually need to go into the texture layer. So we're gonna collapse this. And the next thing we're gonna move on to is dodge and burn. So this is also another action that I have. I will make that available for download as well. So let me explain what happens here. Okay. So I have a help layer, which I can go in between. Okay, so the help layer is in black and white. It's a little easier to see light and darker tones with no color. So basically, so I have a screen for my burn. That way I can see the areas that are a little lighter, and that way I can kind of tone them down if I need to. And for my dodge, so if you go, let's see. So right now this is in screen. The blending mode is on screen. So if I go down to multiply, it's going to make it darker so that I can go in and brighten up the areas that I might want to brighten in dodge. So let's go right back to screen. All right, so you can turn this on and off if you want. If you really don't care about it being black and white, you can, you know, do that. But for me, it just makes things a lot easier. So we're going to open up burn. So right now I have, let's see. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to take your brush, so you can hit B for your brush tool. Make sure this is, your color swatches are reset so that you have black and white. Make sure that you are drawing on this with white. And you want to make sure your brush is a really soft brush, opacity 0, your blending mode normal. My flow stays at 10 and smoothing stays at 10. Because I want to build it up. I don't need any really harsh, brushes at all. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to just build up and just kind of just add a little darkening to certain areas. So the thing that you're gonna have to know about about dodging and burning is this is shaping. That's literally the best. Like, this is shape drawing. This is like that's the best way I can explain it. So what you're going to do is you're gonna have to. This isn't something I can tell you for myself. You have to figure out what actually looks natural at the end of the day, because what's going to happen is if you over dodge and burn, it's going to look obvious. So you have to figure out, one, what's a level that looks moderate and believable, and also just knowing where to put it. My best suggestion for this is to look and reference a lot of paintings, because you're going to like, I mean, a painting is going to be exaggerated quite a bit when it comes to like its highlights and shadows, and you'll have a good understanding of what where people are not forcefully, but intentfully adding shadows and adding highlights to. That way, like once you see that this is where they're adding the shadows and highlights, you understand where you actually want to emphasize some shadows and highlights for yourself. All right, so let's see. So kind of make her cheekbone a little defined. Go down here, touch up her jawline, just touch up a little bit on her neck. You want I want to show off the features that she has, you know, a nice long pronounced neck, and then we're also going to go into the collarbone here. Let's give some more definition back to the shoulders. And it may not seem like I'm doing anything, but when I turn this layer on and off, you will definitely see the difference. So I'm just going to darken this up entirely. All right, let's see. Okay, let's see. So you can see that. All right. Let's see. So I'm actually going to use it the way it's supposed to be. Sometimes I really just keep this on screen and keep it going. So we're going to change this down to multiply. And we're going to go back to our dodge layer, make sure it's on dodge, and make sure your brush is still the same. And you're going to go in and basically on some of the areas where it does look super dark, you can go ahead and just brighten that up. Like, and specifically the ones that, specifically the areas that are great for you, you know, and that you also feel, you know, need to be brightened up. So usually what I like to do is, like, on certain areas where I did do a little bit of dodging, I will go right back in, right around it, to add a little bit more emphasis on that dodge and burn. Sorry, on that burn, and just add a little bit more to that. So I usually kind of just brighten up like right under the eyes a little bit too. I'm not really too big on like over brightened eyes either. All right, let's see. Let's see if we're gonna brighten that up a little bit. There we go. All right, so let's see. Let's look on this layer on her arm. So we're just gonna smoothen out this transition tone. All right, let's see. All right, let's see. And we're also gonna get like these really good transitions. We can also just do like a little dodge and burn, or like kind of like just dodging over the pearls just so they can kind of stand out a little bit. There we go. You can just keep going over it a little bit. All right, let's see. All right, cool, and we can turn that on and off. All right, so what we're gonna do is collapse this help layer and turn this on and off, so now you can see the difference. Boom, very subtle. You never really try to, you know, do too much. So the next thing you're gonna do is, I usually just delete the help layer just so I can save some space. And you can keep it up there if you like, but I know I'm probably, if I do any more dodging and burning, I'll just do it directly on the photo in color. So we're gonna collapse that. So the next thing we're going to do, is we're going to do our color grading. So when I color grade, I use something called Luminosity Mask. And for me, I personally feel like it gives me a little bit more control over what colors I decide I want to put in my image, just because I can specifically select the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. So what's going to happen is within this layer, within this action, there are 6 actions. So the first thing we're going to do is, and I'll explain what all these do in a second. So what we're going to do is, in this Luminosity Mask, oh my goodness, we're going to hit light, dark, and midtones. So I'm just going to hit select, shift, and select all 3 of these, and then run the action. Okay, so it may not look like anything happened, but what you're going to do is go into channels, and now you see all these available channels. If you've ever been in channels before, you usually have just the RGB channels, the regular RGB, red, green, and blue. So now we have this array of light, dark, and mid-tone channels. So what we're going to do, that way we can actually access and control what's going on, you're going to tap on light. It's going to convert everything to a black and white, and then you're going to select the selection. So what's going to happen is, within this light selection, everything that's registered in the system, everything that's registered on this photo as a light, as a highlight, will now become selected. So the selection narrows the further down you go. So we're going to pick this light right here, and we're going to go to adjustments, and we're going to select curve. And then when you go back, so now you have a curves adjustment layer that is only specifically for the light areas. So I'm going to show you how important this is. So let's change this to light. We're going to go to channel again, and let's select our darks. Actually, let's select the midtones first. Usually for midtone 1, a lot of times there's not enough information most of the time. So midtone 2 is usually spot on for me. So let's see. So let's do the same thing. Make sure that you select it. Go back to adjustments, hit curves, and voila. So let's see. Okay. So if you're editing and you see like your whole image is red, just tap on it again, and it'll go back to your selection. Let's see. So let's rearrange that. Put that in order. And then we're going to go back to channel. We're going to select darks, find our dark channel. That might be a little too much for darks. Let's see, between maybe like dark 2 or dark 3. And then you can also go back and change it if you feel like one might be a little too much. I feel like there wasn't enough on midtone 2. So let's just go with dark 2 so that I can have a little bit more control over that. So we're going to go back to, after you made your selection, go to adjustments, hit curves, and you have your dark selection. All right, so show you how important this is. So let's group all these together, and then change this to color grade if I can type. All right, so what we're going to do is, so when you go under light, so when I start making my adjustments, you see it doesn't really affect everything, just only the areas that I deemed as light. So you can go in and even add a little contrast if you want. Okay, so usually that's usually what I go back and do is, so the first thing I will do is go in and adjust certain areas in the lights. All right, and then, well, just like with the exposure, I'll just adjust this a little bit. All right, and then we're gonna bring, see, and then let's make this dark, bring that down a little bit, and then let's adjust these midtones. Okay, perfect, because we're gonna have to add the color in, and then we can add a little bit more contrast in later on. So first thing we're gonna do is under light. Let's see. So I kind of really want to stick with this warm color tone that we have here. So we're going to just kind of make a few colors and just see what we can kind of create right now. So in the lights, just because the light is already orange, I want to just play on that a little bit more on her skin tone. So we're going to almost make something similar to this color right here. So in order to make an orange, we're going to have to use yellow and red. So the opposite, so you're gonna have to just know how to use curves. So the more you bring the curve up, the more blue it's gonna make, and then the more you bring it down, the more yellow is gonna be introduced. So we're gonna just bring a little bit. We're just gonna bring this blue curve down. You don't have to do too much. And then to make orange is yellow and red. So the same thing with red. Red is the opposite of red is cyan. So you can kind of just move that up and down. So let's see. So let's do this, and then because this is the highlights, let's bring that up specifically in the red too. Okay. All right. So you can see where that's at. It's a weird looking curve, but it's okay. All right. So that's where we're at here. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna work on the midtones. So on the midtones, I wanna introduce a more cooler color, because that's gonna be on the other side. And I feel like a blue, not a blue, but like almost like a purple and red, like purple, red, and yellow would be like a good color tone. But we just don't wanna do too much. So we're gonna kind of just bring this in a little slowly. Just make sure we have really great tones while we're doing this. All right. Might be a little too much right there. And the thing is, like, the color, like when you go back and look at the before and after, the color grade may seem super subtle, but it's going to play very, very well. So also, the opposite of green is magenta. So I'm bringing down the green a little bit to introduce a little bit more of that magenta onto her skin tone. So, but this is only in the midtone, so we can have a little bit more control of this when we get to the darks. So let's go in and let's duplicate this. So, but I think cyan would look a little bit better for that. All right, so we have that here. All right, and then we're just gonna bring in just a tad bit of magenta on the side here. All right, and now we're just gonna kind of play with the tones. So you can figure out what's gonna work for us. All right, cool. I think that looks good. So this is where we were at before. This is our after. So the only thing we kind of did, we kind of preserved a lot more of the colors and then just introduced a little bit of this like magenta tone on the right side of her. Okay, so this is typically where I kind of keep a lot of my edits. So sometimes I'll even go in and like color balance. If I do want to manipulate a little further, I will do that within color balance. All right, beautiful. All right, there we go. Do that. That's good. It just kind of brings it in a little bit more. And then next thing we're going to do is go back here and then let's see, we're gonna make a curves adjustment. So what I wanna do is I kinda just wanna bring up a little bit more light on this side of her face. So we're going to make a curves adjustment and let's see, and we're gonna invert it and then draw in. All right, so let's see, so that's not where it's at. It is about, it's in there a little bit. So we're just gonna make this curves adjustment. Let me go to properties. Okay, so adjust this right here, just so I'm more targeting this area right here. So I'm gonna adjust that, and then we're gonna go over here to where it says mask, and then we're gonna hit invert. So basically the same thing that we were doing when we were dodging and burning, we're gonna apply that same principle again. So we're gonna go back and make sure that your color swatch is on white. Make sure that you have your brush, and I'm going to use the Wacom tablet for this. Let's see, turn this back on. All right, and then we're going to get this brush, and then we're just going to just lightly paint. Just bring that back. Okay, let's see. So it may not be a big difference, but you can definitely tell when I do that. All right, so let's see. Let's just add a little bit more. And you don't have to apply a lot of pressure if you're using the pen. I'm just, like I said, I'm slowly building up. It's easier to take away when you slowly build it up. Okay. All right, and I think that is good for me. All right, and then I'm just gonna kind of leave this here. All right. So this is a lot. This is a lot to kind of take in. Well, okay, and then also make sure that after you do your color grading, you make sure that you go back in under your actions. So you have this other set. I don't know if you can see down here, but this is a 2 GB file. There is no way in the world you want 2 GB to be sitting on a single photo. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you go under actions, and it's 2 GB specifically because you have all these channels. And Photoshop may not even let you save the photo because of that. So what you're going to do is you're going to go under actions, and you're going to select delete light, darks, and midtones, and then play that action. It may not seem like anything happened, but when you go under channels, you are back to your regular RGB curves, RGB channels, and whatever layer mask you have selected, it'll go away once I pick something else. So you'll go back to your original channel. So here we go. So let's see, so I can group all of this together so you can kind of see. Let's see, so this was our before image, before retouching, minus the, yeah, okay, boom. All right, so this is what we started with when we imported everything. All right, let's see, so that's like a little retouching for the pearls, and then this is after our color grading and retouching. So they definitely get rid of that group. All right, cool, so that was our before and after. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna try to leave the links in the description for my not my presets, but the plugin actions for everything. That way you guys can kind of have access to that as well. Just remember a lot of the things that I mentioned on how to actually use everything. And I will see you guys the next time for the next tutorial. All right, have a good day.